We are live. We are live. NFL Week 11 preview. Week 11 already kicked off with a game between the Jets and Patriots last night. New England won 27-14. Marcus, Friday afternoon. Vibes are high. How we doing?
I'm good. I'm ready. I'm going to see your Minnesota Vikings in person this Sunday, so looking forward to that. Should be a fun game to preview here this week. I think you, my friend, have the first game of the week, so I'm going to pass it. I'm going to volley it right back to you here.
I just caught it, but anyway, so we have Commanders.
Unlike
Dolphins.
Packers wide receivers,
right. So we have Commanders Dolphins. It's the first ever game in Spain, and the Dolphins, I want to say, are 6-point favorites, 6.5 point favorites. But there's a lot going into this game. Marcus Mariota obviously starting for the Washington Commanders. The Commanders are 29th. And 2.5 point favorites. Disregard that. The Commanders are 29th in defensive DVOA. Miami's 30th in defensive DVOA. Washington, very quietly, maybe not quietly to Commanders fans, but they've lost 5 in a row. They're allowing an average of 35.8 points per game during the span. It was announced this week that Dan Quinn was going to be taking over play calling this week defensively. Deron Payne is also suspended for a punch he threw last week to Amon-Ra St. Brown. This is obviously, we know this, but it is a very unhealthy team. Now, for the Dolphins, I would argue that this is a must win, and here's why. There will be a reference to the wonderful 6-7 here in a second, but the Dolphins right now are 3-7. They obviously had a tremendous win last week against the Bills. A 17-point win, and by the way, last week I said over-under 50 for the Dolphins. Bills, not sure why it was that high. Loved it, and it was 43 points anyway. So this week,
call.
Thank you. They play the Commanders this week. Very winnable. Can be 4-7 entering their Week 12 bye. After their Week 12 bye, they play home against the Saints. I know Tyler Shuck looked good last week. We'll see how that plays out, but that's a winnable game for both sides. But for the Dolphins' sake here, we'll say it's winnable to improve to 5-7. And then they play at the Jets, who... not a great team. The Dolphins can easily win that, and they can enter the Week 15 Monday night game against the Pittsburgh Steelers with a 6-7 record. So it has to start this week. It technically started last week with the win against the Bills, but there's a very real scenario where the Dolphins, string off 4 in a row from being a 2-7 team to being a 6-7 team with, being in the hunt graphics and with something to play for in the final 4 games of the year. Now, from weeks 15 through 18, they play at Pittsburgh, home against Cincinnati, with presumable healthy Joe Burrow then, because Joe Burrow is expected to come back against Baltimore on Thanksgiving, and then the Bucs and the Patriots. So, we got to get there first, but just saying the path is there. And then Devon Achane over the last 5 games, 670 total yards, 4 rushing touchdowns in this span. Get him going. I think Miami wins this game. I trust Miami's offense to be able to, as simple as this is, put up more points than the Commanders' offense led by Marcus Mariota at this point in his career. I think Miami wins. I think it'll be relatively close. Give me the Fish 24-17.
Yeah, I like it. I think Miami's been showing a lot of life. This Commanders defense, I've been referring to them as just target practice as of late, and I don't know how that changes with yet another player out, as you mentioned, off the rip there with Deron Payne. I think getting these linebackers in space is going to be a problem. Bobby Wagner chasing down Devon Achane towards the sideline. Don't really love that for the Commanders. Just can't really move the way he once did. So I agree. I think Miami gets this. And I said it this week, and I think a win this week would cement it even further. I'm officially on team don't fire Mike McDaniel this year. I think the team has shown some pretty good fight, and the run defense has actually been much better than they get credit for this year. That was a big reason why they were able to upset the Bills last week. Jordan Brooks been flying around, making plays. So especially if they win this game, come back international, like you said, schedule shows some opportunities. I think with Chris Greer out of the way, I'm ready to at least see one more year of Mike McDaniel here. Now I was going to go to Panthers Falcons next, but the talented Gene Dangus Bengal is in the chat here.
Is he really?
And and he's here to talk some crap about our teams being in the bottom of the division. So what better way to transition this for you, Gene, than to talk about the Packers at your New York Giants? who last I checked are also in last place in the division. But I do think the Packers bounce back this week. Call me a homer if you want. I did pick the Eagles to beat the Packers last week, just saying. But really thinking about what has been wrong with the Packers, and let me flip the graphic here real quick.
I'm going to look at your chat to see what Bengals running his chops about.
Yeah, running it real loud. But he says Jeff Hafley, next Giants head coach, just maybe. But I've been thinking a lot about what has really been wrong with the Packers offense. And there's a lot of different things. We could get into it in depth if you want to, but I think at the top of their issues, it's been something Dan Orlovsky tweeted about. He said the Packers are 25th in first down rushing success rate and 26th in first down rushing yards per attempt. And last year, I think Matt LaFleur had a lot of first down rushing success. The offense really ran through Josh Jacobs. He's tried to do the same thing this year, and that's been LaFleur's thing, is kind of that Shanahan style run to set up the play action, marry the run and the pass, all that kind of stuff. There has not been any real adjustments from LaFleur with the run game really not working. Now, this week, they take on the 32nd ranked run defense in the league that has shown no signs of bunkering down to stop the run. Maybe in a ding dong, the witch is dead head coach fired week that happens, but I don't know that this locker room is like rallying behind the firing of Brian Daboll. Maybe they are. I like to imagine that I think the players actually enjoyed Brian Daboll. I think they understand why it had to happen, but I don't really look at this as like some of the other head coach firings. Like I think when the Jags fired Urban Meyer, I think they won the next week. Like, I don't look at it like that. I think this is more of a like, yeah, I mean, I get why it had to happen, but this thing's over. I don't think this is the week that the Giants bunker down and stop the run all of a sudden. So I do think, I don't know that this is going to be a get right game for the Packers necessarily. I think they have a lot of other issues, but I do think they can have more early down rushing success, keep Jordan Love in some more like, or keep him out of these third and pass situations. Like the last few weeks, it's been every single drive they end up in a challenging 3rd and 8. And it's hard to live in that world consistently. So I do think the Packers has a bounce back week offensively, should be able to get some of these receivers back out there. I think Dobbs should be good to go. Looks like Golden's going to be out there. That was a big issue against the Eagles last week, as they were down to their 4th, 5th receivers. I mean, Bo Melton had to come back into the offense last week. He had some bad moments. They should have some pass catchers out there to help. And I do think Green Bay too, like the more practice time and the more time LaFleur has to watch the tape and make adjustments after the Tucker Kraft injury, I think this offense can at least make some adjustments and settle back down. So I'm predicting a bounce back week for the Packers. They are the graphic says 7.5. I've seen it from anywhere from 6 to 7.5. That was not an intentional 6-7. But I like the Packers to cover this week in a bounce back week. I really do.
I mean, I hope you're wrong, respectfully. It'd be very beneficial. It would feed a lot of families if you were wrong in that one. My family in particular. But anyway, no, I'm with you though. I do think the Packers are too talented to not bounce out of this. And it was Monday night was obviously a very frustrating game for Green Bay. And I will say this on behalf of another NFC North fan base, seeing all of our fan bases, the NFC North on Twitter regularly, I think it is either our division, maybe the NFC East. The NFC East definitely gives it a run for the money, but I really think that we are probably the most collective, dramatic division fan base in football, just with immediate like, oh my gosh, LaFleur needs fired. LaFleur's on the hot seat.
Yeah.
Let's, and I've been critical of KOC this year. Don't get me wrong, but KOC should not be fired. Matt LaFleur should not be fired. There's going to be hiccups throughout the year, and especially coming off of a, Tucker Kraft tears his ACL, and then, hey, we're going up against Vic Fangio's defense. So, I mean, obviously you would have liked to have seen more than what we saw last week offensively, but I'm with you. I would be surprised if Green Bay doesn't win, but the Jameis factor has to be, I mean, you have to at least acknowledge the Jameis wild card factor within this. I mean, Jameis is, I'm just going to leave it at that. He's Jameis. It could be a 31-10 win. It could be a 34-31 Giants upset win. Jameis throws for 4 touchdowns. I think both are equally likely.
The other note I had is that, the Packers defense, they've been great as of late, by the way, but when they have shown their weaknesses, it's been receivers making tough catches down the field, and it's been against Marvin Harrison. It's been against T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. It's been last week, Devontae Smith made like the only play that the Eagles got all day. Who on the Giants is making that play? I mean, Darius Slayton had a wonderful one-hander last week after a 3-week stretch of not being able to catch anything. I don't know who on the Giants is going to help out Jameis Winston, given his play style. Right. I think you're going to get some pretty sloppy moments, and a hungry Packers defense might be able to win this one, on their own with a defensive touchdown, just to combat that a little bit.
Okay, very fair. So, and by the way, I do think Packers win. I want Jameis. I will say that Jameis playing well is fun. And like last year, the snow game in Cleveland, whenever he's pregame, like, I'm just excited to play this football game that we have ahead of us in Cleveland, Ohio at whatever, like First Energy Bank Stadium. I'm excited. Like, those are electric moments. But yeah, I again think the Packers are going to win. So let's go down to Duval, Chargers, Jags. One of the biggest games. I mean, this is a huge game for each team, which is kind of an understatement. By the way, quickly, if you guys are enjoying, please like the stream. Please like Mark's stream. Helps tremendously. But with this game, I have must win for the Chargers ? And the reason that I have a question mark around this is because right now the Chargers are 7-3. They're obviously in a really good position. All signs point to the fact that they're probably going to get 10 wins. 10 wins probably gets you into the big dance. But within the Chargers' schedule here, they have a bye week next week. It'd be wonderful for them to win 4 in a row heading into their bye, to be 8-3 heading into that bye. Then they have the Raiders, which they can definitely win. But after that, the Eagles, at the Chiefs, at the Cowboys, home against the Texans, at the Broncos, which is a hell of a 5-game end. I mean, that's a playoff schedule and then some before the playoffs even start. So I would argue that this is kind of a must-win game for the Chargers because Philly, KC, say what you want about Dallas, they're still a good offense. And then Houston and then Denver, that's a brutal stretch right there. So that's why I have must-win for the Chargers. And then Denver's also down a few starters against Kansas City this week. So the opportunity for LA is there to, take back the AFC West, take the lead of the AFC West. So that's also kind of an incentive for the Chargers. The Chargers also have 5 straight games of 24 plus points. And it's also potentially their last game without Omarion Hampton. His earliest return is week 13. So a lot of things are trending in the right direction for the Jags, especially if they win this game. Now, for the Jags...
The Chargers.
What did I say?
You misspoke. I'm just correcting you for the...
Did I say the Jags?
For the audio. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I had Jags in my mind. It happens. Anyway, for the Jags, they've lost 3 of their last 4. Last week, horrendous fourth quarter, not just because they blew the lead. Obviously that stinks, but they were outscored 26-0. I would argue, I don't know if you saw this play on the Davis Mills big 14-yard touchdown run. Did you see Josh Hines-Allen and Devin Lloyd on the play?
No, not specifically. No.
Devin Lloyd was in coverage and then he saw Davis Mills, like he turned around and Davis Mills was like at the 5 or 6 yard line. And he kind of he lollygagged it over there. Josh Hines-Allen, it was kind of like once he was by him, it was kind of like, oh, all right, hopefully somebody else gets him. That speaks volumes. And this is not a good situation for the Jags to be in. If they drop to 5-5, then I'm going to say they're done. They're not going to get into the postseason if they lose this game. I have another point for this game. Who are the Jags? I also have that you have to rebound after last week's collapse. And also within that collapse last week, after they were up 29-10, the offensive line allowed a 100% pressure rate against the Texans. Now we know the Texans have, Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson, very good pass rush, but
did you say 100%?
Yes. After they were up 29-10, they had, it was only like 6 or 7 dropbacks. Sorry, not many dropbacks after that, but it was the fact of, it was literally a 100% pressure rate allowed. So all of this being said, I'm going to be honest. I trust Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert a lot more than and of course Jesse Minter a lot more than I trust Liam Cohen's unit, which at times this year has been very turnover dependent. I have a lot of questions about Trevor Lawrence for that matter too. I think Chargers win, and I think they also cover the spread. I said the over/under/spread that I liked last week the most was Bills, Dolphins under 50. I like Chargers 2.5 this week a lot.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. I'm surprised the spread's not bigger, to be honest. Especially, I mean, the Chargers play that kind of top-down zone style. They just kind of wait for you to make a mistake. And what passing game has been 10 plays away from making a critical mistake through the air than the Jags? Is Brian Thomas playing this week?
I didn't see anything about him not playing. So,
yeah, it's definitely leans Chargers for me. I was impressed by how the Chargers offensive line held up last week, relatively speaking, against Pittsburgh. Another big test against a pair of good edge rushers for the Jags. I mean, that's going to be the Jags' pathway to winning this game is winning that matchup with their D-line against the Chargers. I think there's a path for them to do that here at home, really with their season on the line. Kind of feels a little bit like a trap game of sorts, because big win for the Chargers last week, sloppy loss. So I think I would stay away from this one on the spread, but definitely lean Chargers. But I will pick the Chargers with you on that one.
All right.
Let's go to Carolina at Atlanta, a rematch of earlier in the year where the Falcons found a way to get like their only blowout win in like 4 years in this game. Now they're going to be going down the road to Atlanta this time around. This one, to me, I know we want to focus on these two quarterbacks and talk about their futures and all that stuff. I'm not really going to go there this week. For me, it's all about who's going to be able to run the ball in this game. Two teams that want to run the ball. The Panthers are 9th in rushing DVOA offensively, going against a Falcons run defense that has really struggled in recent weeks, but they're down to 27th in run defense this year. Pretty close, but closer on the other side of things. Atlanta is 13th in rushing offense against the Panthers' 20th ranked run defense. That's been much more up and down this season. They've had some really impressive weeks against the run. They did a good job. I want to say against Dallas that have been running the ball really well. They did a good work against Green Bay, but they've had some really bad weeks and gotten exposed in that sense. I think the Bills and James Cook had like a historically good day of like yards before contact in that game. So, who are the Panthers defense in this one with, a season that is getting away from them after a loss against the Saints. And then for Atlanta, they've played tough the last couple of weeks. Obviously, you got to see them bounce back in a game where they embarrassed themselves against this team earlier in the year. I think they should be favored in this one as the home team. I think they're playing better football over the last 2 weeks than the Panthers have, but I wouldn't touch this game of the 10-foot pole with my money. I think I'll take the sorry, Panthers fans. I'm going to take the Falcons to get this one back, split the season series here. It's about all I got on this one, though. I do think the Falcons, I will say, I think if the Falcons can win this, their schedule's not horrible. They have an opportunity maybe to sneak into that NFC 7 seed discussion that with the Bears and Niners schedules getting harder, there's going to be an opportunity, I think, maybe for that 7 seed to be like a 9-win team. Obviously, the Falcons have to be pretty close to perfect the rest of the stretch, but they got to win this if that's going to be any sort of a reality. And then, if the Panthers win, maybe they can turn this thing back around.
So I do have a comment here. This is funny because just the comment is never put any expectations onto the Falcons. Just don't. I would argue that also goes to the Panthers, but I was so frustrated last week with this, and I know you were too with the Panthers. The Falcons have been frustrated all year because it's, they beat the Bills by double digits, then they lose to the Panthers by 30. I would choose the Falcons in this game because I would argue a lot of Michael Penix had 2 very bad interceptions against this team earlier this year. I think there's going to be, like you said, a little bit of a get back. I would agree in the sense I'm not going to touch this game. If I had to choose, I think Falcons win, but it's a very ugly game, but the path, the reality is the path is there for both teams, but I think Atlanta's a more talented roster, and I think there's going to be a little bit of a vengeance with this, with the Falcons team. So I'm going to choose Atlanta to win this game.
All right. Thank you for the super chat from Tyler. Appreciate you.
Tyler,
Drake May love. Great night last night. Dude's an absolute stud.
We are going.
Who's your pick for MVP, Garrett?
Right
Drake
now,
May
Matt
or
Stafford. Matt Stafford.
Yeah, me
JT.
too.
I want it to be JT, but if I had to, it'd be Matt Stafford. But I want it to be JT.
All right.
We are Bucks Bills.
Okay.
Bucks
Did you
Bills.
show off the jersey?
Yeah. We have the Mecca Ibuka jersey. Got the nice sleeves and everything. So I figured that like if I'm gonna talk on air, I could at least like get a jersey here or there because I'm not going to any Bucks games. So I was like, why not? Why not just wear it? And it's a big game. It's both 6-3. Bills favored by 5.5. We have a 2018 quarterback duel. I do have some fun facts about a lot of games coming up. The Bucks, obviously, these teams do not play each other often. The Bucks are 0-3 all time in Buffalo. Was a thing that I saw. I feel like that's not accurate, but anyway, I feel like that's not. But they're winless in Buffalo. Was the stat that I saw. The last time these teams played, where it was in 2023, it was the play where Baker threw the Hail Mary at the end, and then the ball, I'm pretty sure, just hit the ground. If anybody remembers that specific play, it was a Thursday night game. The last time the Bucks beat the Bills was in 2021. Tom Brady in that game had a 58-yard touchdown to none other than Rashad Perriman. The Bucks have lost 2 out of the last 3. Not a must-win game for the Bucks, mainly because of just the division. But obviously, it's one you want to get back. You don't obviously want to continue to lose games. Obviously, it's as simple as that idea is. But the Bucks also play the Rams next week, so they lose this one. There's a very real reality where the Bucks are a 6-5 football team, and as we know, they lost last week to the Patriots. And if they lose this again, 3 in a row off the bye, losing is very possible. And it also is unfortunate that they have no Bucky or no Chris Godwin this week. For Buffalo, the biggest thing that I have is, well, 2 things. I have how will they respond after a 17-point loss to Miami last week, and then Buffalo's struggled a lot this year. I mean, Josh Allen has not been Josh Allen. The receiving core obviously is not great. You want to see somebody like a Keon Coleman step up. He has not really stepped up. And I know the Bills are still top 10 in points per game. That's largely due to the year that James Cook is having. But this has been a very frustrating team. And what I wrote down is with the Patriots schedule the remainder of the way, given that they're probably going to win 13, if not 14 games, I wrote down, is the Bills season, not over, but in some ways over, given the fact that they would presumably have to go on the road 3 straight times. So, I mean, for this week specifically, I know that that's more of a macro conversation, but for this game specifically, I think Buffalo wins. I definitely think Tampa covers. 5.5 is a lot. But I think a 27-24 game is good. It's going to be something along these lines, but I do have concerns and things to note with both teams moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, Tampa, their run defense hasn't been what we've really gotten used to with the Todd Bowles run defense. The Bills really are, when they're beating teams, it's through the ground. It's James Cook. This is, you think of the Bills like, oh yeah, Josh Allen, they can pass the ball. You think of the Bucks, yeah, they can stop the run. These teams haven't really been what we've gotten so accustomed to with these 2 specific kind of squads and coaching staffs. So I'm curious to see those 2 dynamics, especially in this one. Can the Bucks improve the run defense? Can the Bills start to throw in this game? The where the Bucks are at their strongest, I feel like, is in the secondary. So they should have an advantage against these Bills receivers and try to kind of condense things. So I think they can muddy up this game and kind of keep it interesting. I think I'll go just Josh Allen at home. I do think this will be close, though. I would not take the spread on this one.
Agree. And I think it's more meaningful for the Bills. I am going to pick Buffalo to win, but yeah, I do agree.
What you brought up about the Bucs schedule is fascinating, though. Like, I mean, obviously it helps that their division kind of stinks, but if the Panthers kind of turn things around, they do have to play the Panthers twice at the end of the year. It's not a guarantee that the Bucs just make the playoffs right now. They gotta straighten things out for sure. All right, let's go to Pittsburgh for a rematch of what was a very fun game a few weeks ago. Bengals Steelers. I think this is a fascinating kind of controlled variable A and B experiment here, because the Steelers defense has played so much better the last couple of weeks since this last matchup. So against this really the same opponent, it's pretty much the same deal with Flacco and these receivers this time in Pittsburgh. Maybe a little bit of like I said, a controlled experiment to see if the Steelers defense really has made the proper adjustments. I obviously think if the Steelers can keep the score down, they should be able to. You're laughing. I'm curious what you just saw. Just hold that thought for a second.
It's good.
Okay. I'm curious. I think if the Steelers can keep the score down, they should be able to win. Aaron Rodgers has to have a bounce back week. He had an all-time stinker last week. Just couldn't hit the broad side of the barn. Looked like he left his powers at home on the East Coast on that flight back out to California. I don't know if he was just hanging out with his West Coast buddies all week and not focused, or what the hell that was. But that was bad. So he's got to have a bounce back week. He doesn't have to be a superhero to win this game, I don't think, but definitely has to play better than last week. The Steelers did pick up Asante Samuel Jr. I'm curious to see if he gets out there for them. I like that pickup. I'm surprised it took that long for someone to pick him up, but the Bengals do like to run a lot of 10-yard, 15-yard outs with these wide receivers, especially with Joe Flacco. It's one of his better throws. Asante Samuel Jr. is really good at baiting you into those throws with really good bursts to close and pick those off. So if Samuel is playing, could be calling my shot on a big interception for him in his first game as a Steeler, but he might not be out there because he did just sign there. So we'll see about that. But yeah, give me the Steelers. I think the defensive improvements are enough for them to hold off the Bengals. It should be another big Jaylen Warren game. He's been awesome this year. I'm going to go like 27-23 Steelers.
That's and you ready for this? I don't know if you know this. The over-under is 49.5. So you got it like right
really
there.
Nice.
Yes. So I'm with you. I think it's going to be somewhere right around in there. And I know Steelers fans, and I do have a super chat here from Mike, which I very much appreciate. And we're going to bring this up, but he asks, if the Steelers miss the playoffs, does Tomlin get fired? Very sick of his conservative coaching. No coaching tree, has to be the smartest dude in the room, and that is his downfall. We'll address that in a minute. But no, I think going back to that game that we had a couple of weeks ago, that I said even on that Thursday night that was a must-win game for the Steelers because of where the Steelers are now and where the Ravens are now. I do think the Steelers are going to, kind of get theirs back, if you will. But the reality is with the Steelers is I don't think that Mike Tomlin would get fired even if they miss the playoffs, because you can still very much argue, and Mike Tomlin, like the argument for him would be, hey, we had Aaron Rodgers this year. It wasn't ideal. And, we still won 9 games, or we still, I don't think they're going to go 8-9, but we still won 9 games. And we still had a winning record, and we haven't had a losing record. So I think they would keep him around. Curious where you think on that, Marcus, but the comment that I was laughing at, this is an incredible username, Cat Richard Bojangles. This is referring to last week when you had the sprinkler right outside the window.
Oh,
he said that people thought that you had the farts, if you will. He said, glad to see Marcus's belly isn't upset this week.
Oh,
that was the comment. So,
hey, this is not the type of lore that I want to be established on this show. Great comment though.
But anyway, so curious where you stand on the Tom.
I think he might get traded, if anything. I think a team like the Giants or the Titans would fork up a pick for Mike Tomlin. Maybe not a first, but maybe as much as a first. But I think it's possible. But I think you made a great point. If they're a 9-10 win team and they just miss out on the playoffs because they just were other better teams, I think the Steelers probably talked themselves into Tomlin pretty easily. But I do think it's been incrementally building towards that for years. But yeah, he does feel like more of like a Sean Payton legacy coach, that it'd probably be more of a like, we respect you enough to trade you, and we're smart enough to trade you instead of firing you. But it might just be time for a change of scenery. So yeah, we'll see where that goes. I still think Pittsburgh's in a decent position to be a wild card team, but definitely not a guarantee.
Agree. And by the way, the Mike did also reply and said that the never had a losing season needs to be retired. I would personally agree with that. I think it's also incredibly overrated because TJ Watt is on the backside of his career now and has never won a playoff game. No slander, just a
That's
fact.
crazy.
I'm with you. I'm with Steelers fans that change needs to happen. But anyway, Bears Vikings is up, and at the time we record this, the Bears are the number 6 seed in the NFC. Last week was the first win for Chicago this year in which they didn't force at least 3 turnovers. But it's also worth noting before Jackson Dart left with a concussion, he was carving up the defense. So the defense kind of has to be not so reliable on turnovers, though this is a good matchup for them to get turnovers, which I'll get to in a minute. Caleb has looked awesome when it matters, and the raw numbers, especially last week, were not accurate to how he played. There were a lot of drops, and I want to say in the final 5 minutes of the game, he was something of like 5 for 8 with something like 80 yards, but two of those three incompletions were drops. Olamide Zaccheaus had one, Rome Odunze had one, and the one drop to Odunze was a ball. It was a really good ball. So Caleb is getting better. This is a really good test for Caleb Williams and the Bears offensively. This is a team that Caleb is 0-3 against, and he's definitely struggled at times against the Brian Flores defense. And last year, whenever they went to Minnesota, it was a really bad game for Caleb. So really, I'll be really eager to see how this goes. The offense for the Vikings. Now this is where we gotta, like crack the knuckles. This is, anyway, the offense has to be better. Last week, it was an atrocity after like the first drive. They had 8 false starts last week, and that was at home in a home game. And it was the most the Vikings have had at home since at least the year 2000. That was as far back as the data went for the people that brought this stat to like recognition, if you will. So most in a quarter of a century. JJ McCarthy, we acknowledge he has to be better. The one interception was bad. Justin Jefferson, I obviously love him. He's obviously my guy. He has to be better. I would argue last week was probably one of, if not the worst game of his entire career. Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah, I agree.
Kevin O'Connell, we got to run the ball, buddy. 3rd and 1. You got a 22-year-old quarterback in his 4th career start. Your running backs are averaging 5 yards per carry. I don't know why we get too cute with it. I don't know why we play these stupid, we're going to trick them out. Just like enough with the trick plays, Bert. Run the damn ball. Run the ball. I'm definitely getting worked up about that. Run the ball. And then I have actually, as a final note, emphasis on running the football. So run the ball. That's the biggest thing here for the Vikings. Dude, I'm telling you, bro, nothing gets me more worked up. We're down double digits. 8 minutes left in the game. I'm getting worked up. 8 minutes left in the game, and we're snapping the ball with 2 seconds left. You got to go. A lot of frustration right now offensively for the Vikings, but very winnable game for both sides. And look, I'm not going to not stop believing in JJ McCarthy. That one play last week, the Jalen Naylor on the where they had Addison on the pick play and JJ dropped it in a bucket. The flashes are there. The flashes are 100% there. Now, the one thing that McCarthy has to work on is over the course of the game, his backside. I can't show my legs here in terms of this because I'm sitting down, but his foot weirdly comes through. And that has to be worked on because his accuracy as the game progresses is bad. And he started out last week 7 of 9 and finished something like 20 of 42. By the way, Kevin O'Connell, don't throw the ball 42 times with the quarterback in his 4th career start. Anyway, run the ball. But that does have to be worked on over the course of the game. I do trust the Vikings defense to make a couple of plays. I also think that the turnovers will gradually go down as the season goes on. I don't think JJ is going to average 2 interceptions per game for the entirety of his career. So I'm going Minnesota to get back to 5-5.
I don't think it's crazy. I think the winner of this game has hope for the 7 seed in the NFC. Bears fans are like, what are you talking about? We'll be 6-4 if we lose this game. Okay. Well, you got coming up Steelers, Eagles, Packers. You got the Browns in there, but then Packers, Niners, Lions. It is by far the hardest schedule remaining for any team, in my opinion. And I get coming off as a Bears hater by saying this, but it's just my honest opinion and how I look at it. Their season starts this week. They have the softest 6 wins I ever remember. Seriously, breaking it down real quick, they beat the Raiders due to a blocked field goal to take the lead with 40 seconds left. And yeah, even if the Bears had 30 seconds left after that, it's the Raiders. They were going to lose to the Commanders until they botch a fumble. And the Commanders are not good this year. They beat the Giants on a huge fourth quarter comeback that got Brian Daboll fired, that after they knocked Jackson Dart out of the game. They had that crazy Bengals game. And then the only team that they were able to kneel it out against really was the Bears and the Cowboys in Soldier Field. Like, their season starts this week. So I'm just curious to see at Minnesota against a Brian Flores defense. I'm not trying to hate on the Bears. It's just like, you haven't had really the opportunity, or at least when you have had the opportunity, you haven't pushed through that line of, like, basically what I'm getting at is me viewing you as a legitimate playoff team. So for me, like, if they can go into Minnesota against a Brian Flores defense, attack a secondary that's had some issues, and for Caleb to keep showing the growth he has shown the last couple of weeks against some pretty bad defenses, then we can start to have some more real conversations about the Bears being more of a playoff team. Right. It's impressive that they're winning games that they normally would lose in their history, and that's great. And I think you feel really good about the progress Caleb's shown and where they're at with Ben Johnson. But it is go time now, and I'm just curious to see where that lands for them. Are they fraudulent because of their schedule, or are they actually just getting better? So huge week to evaluate the Chicago Bears. Vikings they've just been all over the freaking map this year. I have no idea what to think about them. I do think their defense has a chance with, they're playing so much better right now than they were in the start of the season. I think they have a chance to really make Caleb uncomfortable, maybe get some mistakes out of him. JJ, it's just play to play, drive to drive. I do agree with what you said about running the football. It's been something that Kevin O'Connell's really struggled with for a long time, whether it's a schematic angle, not being creative enough to, like, have a good run game, or, like you said, just leaning into it when it's working. So, I don't have a strong opinion on who wins this game. I'm very excited to be there, though. It's going to be really an exciting environment and a huge game for both teams.
I do have two things real quick. If you wanted to go into even more like the Bears, like putting them down, if you will, their win against the Cowboys was because Dak threw a red zone interception and George Pickens dropped the one ball right into the Bears defender's arm. I'm just saying. Right. And then also, have you seen this? I've been addicted to saying this. I've been saying it to myself like a lot this week. I've been at the gym and I've been saying good, better, best. Have you seen that? Oh, so it's Ben Johnson, dude. He gets like, after the win, he gets everybody. Caleb like spoke to the team last week, and then he was like, "Bring it on in, gentlemen!" And then like everybody, like the whole team was like chanting, and he said, "Good, better, best," and then never let it rest until your good gets better, and then until you're hold on. Anyway, he finishes it goes until your better gets best. Bears on 3, 1, 2, 3. Bears. That I was the adrenaline
just
was
raw emotion.
The adrenaline was flowing. Ben Johnson, he got me ready to run through a brick wall, man. It's
awesome. I love it.
So
I didn't make my pick, though.
Skull, home team. Do the Skull chant.
I think the Bears win. Sorry. I think the Bears got it this week. And then I think the Bears win this and then finish 9-8. That's my prediction. Okay. You heard it here first.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Hey, just doubt us this week, doubt us next week. We'll be ready. Wait for 9. Wait for 9. He's coming in the Lambeau.
Dude, I don't need to get all the way back into it. JJ had some pretty major flaws last week. I'm just going to leave it there.
Work in progress. Yeah. It's work in
progress. I think Caleb has his flaws, but he's a lot further ahead than McCarthy right now. All right. Shall we?
Yes.
Move forward?
Yes.
We got Rams Seahawks. My
game of the year.
It's not my number 1 and number 2. Or is it? I can't remember what I had in the power rankings at number 2. It might be my number 1 and I think it is, actually, now that I say that. What a game, man. And what a year these teams have had. I mean, the Seahawks obviously have been like the surprise team of the year. I've spent a lot of time the last 2 weeks talking about everything going on with them. And then the Rams have just kind of quietly, I feel like, evolved into a much more dangerous version of even what they were last year. I think defensively, they've taken yet another step with their run defense being so much better this year. Some additions like Poona Ford and Nate Landman and a bunch of guys stepping up. They've been so much more lethal in terms of forcing teams to get into third and pass situations where we know this D-line can get after it. And Chris Shula is schooling teams. We'll stick with my misspeak there. But offensively with the Rams, the heavy personnel stuff that they've brought to the table this year. We've seen McVay add a whole new wrinkle to this offense that is just leading to these exhausting drives, 15 play, 8-minute drives. Like the last 3 or 4 weeks, we've seen this, especially. I think Matthew Stafford, we talked about it earlier, is playing the quarterback position better than anybody in the league right now. He's nailing deep shots. He still has the arm talent, but he's playing better than he ever has as kind of a Tom Brady-esque figure, getting the ball out quick, annoying teams with these long drives on top of some hole shots and some deep shots in there. So just an absolute superpower matchup. One thing I'm really excited to see as a football nerd here, one of the larger narratives, I know I've talked about it, a lot of people have talked about it, whether it's on broadcasts or other podcasts, is this year a big kind of league trend is the use of heavy personnel, as much as 13 personnel, and passing out of that on early downs. And both these teams have been at the forefront of that, along with like Buffalo and maybe some other teams. But what I'm curious to see is how, and really this is more of a macro league, watch this game to see how maybe you should go about defending heavy personnel, because both these teams do it very differently. The Seahawks come out against heavy personnel 80% of the time. They actually stay in nickel defense, and they're able to do that because they have a Nicky Manwari, who's a hybrid safety slot corner. Their nickel base, because of how they've built their defense, is half base, half nickel. So should you be leaning more in that direction? If you have the personnel to do it, what type of success do they have against the Rams? Are they able to slow down the number 3rd ranked rushing offense for the Rams that they've been really good on the ground, really since they've leaned into this 13 personnel stuff? But the Seahawks, who, like I said, 80% of their snaps against heavy personnel from nickel defense, they are not afraid of it. They are the number 3 ranked rushing defense in the league despite that. So that's going to be really exciting to see. And then on the flip side, the Rams play heavy personnel 60% of the time in a base 3-4 defense, kind of the standard philosophy of it. So just from a schematic point of view, how do you stop this modern offensive wave with these play action heavy personnel attacks and the run game from those formations? That, I think, is what's going to decide the game, is who does better on early downs against these heavy formations, because that's really what both these teams are focusing on right now offensively. So keep an eye on that. I think coming out of this game, whoever wins, the quarterback, probably going to be getting some MVP talks coming out of it. Obviously, Stafford's already got it. If he wins this, that's as big of a win as you could get right now. Certainly myself and many people see Seattle as the best team in football right now, with the Rams right behind them. If Sam Darnold can check another box and get this big win, why shouldn't he be in the MVP talks? He's been playing as good as anybody too. So just an absolute thrilling game. I have been thinking about this game a lot this week, and all the stuff I broke down with the matchups, it's super fascinating. My gut just tells me the Rams get this one. Right. And I think it's one of these games I'm gonna follow my gut and pick the Rams on this one. But it should be an absolute battle. And I hope I can get home in time after the Vikings game to catch this one, because it's I don't want to miss it.
No, it's going to be the meme absolute cinema with the hands like this. This is. I mean, just talk about a day of football, dude. We have Bucks Bills as like an appetizer, and then we have Seahawks Rams, and then we have Lions Eagles on Sunday night. I mean, you talk about just an all around, like, I used to pray for times like this meme. This Sunday is one of those days. I can't wait for it. But this is also a huge test for Sam Darnold, because this was the team last year where, I mean, you were very much seeing ghosts. Sam Darnold was sacked 9 times in that Rams playoff game, and it was everybody wants to attribute it to the Vikings offensive line, but Darnold was not good in that game either. And I'm very eager to see how Sam rebounds, obviously rooting for Sam. But I do think right now the Rams offense and Stafford are on another level. But this is going to be one of the best games of the year. And the 13 personnel usage, I love that point that you made. And it's one thing that McVay is doing. And when you talk about best on best, McVay versus McDonald, this is one that I can't wait to watch live, and then again go back and watch the tape Monday morning and break it all down. This is going to be one heck of a game. I think I would take Seahawks spread. I think it'll be a 3-point final, but I am going to go with the Rams to win.
All right. Sorry, Seahawks fans. Although maybe congrats Seahawks fans, because that with us both picking the Rams,
it's the reverse.
You guys win the game.
All right, another NFC West clash, 49ers Cardinals. So this will be like pretty brief here. The 49ers have lost 2 out of the last 3, though I do want to say the 49ers, do not count them out. I think that there's right now, even as injured as they are, no Nick Bosa, no Fred Warner, no Micah Williams, a lot of guys down, and Brock Purdy's back, by the way. That was one thing that I did see, Brock Purdy back. I think the 49ers, book it right now, November 14th, the 49ers make the playoffs. The 49ers, I think they'll win this game. They would improve to 7-4. They play the Panthers next week. Could very easily be 8-4. They have struggled in the past at Cleveland. That could be 9-4. And then they enter their week 14 bye with a 9-4 record. They come off their week 14 bye and play the Titans, which would be 10-4. At the Colts, tough. Home against the Bears in week 17 on Sunday night. Very easily could win that. That would be 11 wins right there. And then Seattle in week 18. Maybe Seattle doesn't have anything to play for. That's a stretch. That last part's a stretch. But the 49ers getting to 10 or 11 wins is not a stretch. It has to start this week. Brock Purdy's back. That's obviously, your franchise quarterback is back. That has to be noted. The one big concern that I have with the 49ers, undoubtedly, zero pass rush. I don't know if you watched them play last week against the Rams or how much you were paying attention to the 49ers, specifically within Matt Stafford's masterclass last week, but they couldn't generate a pass rush at all. And obviously when you're down your first round pick and a former defensive player of the year, things are going to get difficult, but that's my biggest concern with the Cardinals, though I still think the 49ers have enough talent to win this game, especially when the Cardinals do not have Marvin Harrison Jr. or Zay Jones in this game. So Cardinals' top 3 receiving options are Trey McBride, of course, Michael Wilson, and Greg Dortch. The Cardinals have also quietly put up 20 points in each of their last 6 games, so I feel like that's worth noting. And one other note that I have is, can the Cardinals bounce back from a very Cardinals loss earlier in the year against San Francisco? Don't know if you remember. It was a 13-13 game with 3 minutes to play. The Cardinals forced a safety, so it was 15-13 Cardinals. Yep. They obviously get the punt back, and then as you can imagine how every fan thinks that, everything is against them type thing, or how everything goes downhill. 15-13, they get the ball back. Drew Petzing, they don't
run, right?
No, so they had a run, but there was a passing play where Kyler threw it to MHJ, and the ball was a little like back, and he should have let him more. And it was, if he places it like a foot and a half more out front, the Cardinals probably win the game. But anyway, they, the rest.
Or if Marv just caught it.
That's true. That's true. Hey,
it's Marvin Harrison.
I'm a Marv guy. But anyway, no, both.
That's like the exact point in the season, though. I was saying Marv was playing really bad. Like, he wasn't playing like Marvin to start. Like, that was a big play. It's like, yeah, Kyler could have been a little bit better, but you expect Harrison to catch that too.
Oh, whoa, hold on. We have breaking news. Sam Laporta ruled out. Anyway, we'll get to that.
I saw that he hasn't been practicing this week.
We'll get to that in the Lions game. But ultimately, I am going to go with the 49ers to win. I do think the 49ers are a more talented team, even with the guys out. And I trust Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy more than I trust Jonathan Gannon and Jacoby Brissett, especially with MHJ out and everything they have there. So I'm going to go with the 49ers to win.
Okay. Blooming Cash is correcting us, by the way. It was Zay Jones on that play we were talking about.
It was Zay Jones. Okay, see, it could never be. Thank you. Yeah. It could not be. It wouldn't be Marvin Harrison.
Well, a lot goes on this season. The details get a little mixed up from a week 3 game or whatever it was. But I think this one's fascinating to me because I like that Brock Purdy's back. Jacoby's coming off a bad game last week. Both these teams kind of at least have had a slight bubbling in the water of like a QB controversy. I think a big reason everyone was so quick to like run Kyler Murray out of town was just how good Jacoby was playing. I think that was kind of swept under the rug. I think it went straight to like, yeah, Kyler sucks. He's out of here. It wasn't really giving Jacoby his credit for how well he was playing, if that makes sense. But if he can't sustain at that level, I think the Cardinals are very quickly going to talk themselves back into keeping Kyler Murray, because I don't know necessarily if you're not going forward with Jacoby, if he doesn't play at that level, I don't necessarily know what your solution is there. But because I don't think they're going to be in a position probably to draft a guy this year. I might be getting a little ahead of it there. But Anyway, Jacoby should have a huge opportunity to play well in this one against the Niners defense that is just toothless at the moment. Who's Bryce Huff, I guess, is the best defender on the Niners.
It's Bryce Huff, Keon White.
Bryce Young might be the second best defender on this defense. Put him out at cornerback. I don't know. Yeah, it sucks that for Cardinals fans. I mean, the season's already pretty much over, but the fact that Marvin Harrison Jr. gets appendicitis this week, like this is a winnable game for the Cardinals if Marv is able to play, but definitely gets a lot harder without him. So I agree. I think you go Niners. I hope Brock Purdy can play well. I find myself all of a sudden like really pulling for Brock Purdy. I would hate just for his sake if he ended up losing this job to Mac Jones. But it's hard to feel bad for him after he got all that money. But yeah, I think with especially Ricky Pearsall should be back this week too. He looked awesome to start the year. So we're gonna go Niners, but I understand why it's a 2.5 point spread. Arizona, other than that Seahawks game, has been a frisky team, and they're at home here.
All right, where are we headed?
We are headed to Denver for Chiefs Broncos. Huge game from both sides of things, obviously, in this division. Denver and Broncos fans have been really getting impatient with me. I do my weekly power rankings every Monday, and I haven't moved the Broncos for like a month because they haven't really been playing anybody, and their wins have been hardly getting by against bad teams. It's like, I'm not lowering you. I still love this defense, but Bo Nix obviously has to play better. Here's your opportunity at home. Really a chance to, I think, knock the Chiefs out of the division. It would be very hard for the Chiefs to win this division, especially if the Chargers get a win against the Jags. I think the chances of either Denver or the Chargers outpacing Kansas City would be outstanding here. So I don't know if they can do it, but it is a big opportunity. I think for Kansas City coming off the bye week should be pretty motivated. I like their defense in this game, treating it, it feels like the Chiefs when it's a big game, and especially in this case, when you have 2 weeks to prepare against a divisional opponent, when it's a Spags game, when it feels like they're really scheming up the defense, making things hard, catering to what the offense is doing. It sounds silly to say because you'd think they'd be doing that every single week, but it feels like some weeks they're a little bit loose in terms of just being a little more vanilla. Some weeks it's like, no, we're bracketing this guy, we're blitzing this, we know your tendencies. It's a Spags game. It's hard to explain it, but I think people that have watched the Chiefs know what I'm talking about there. I think this will be a Spags game, and I think Bo Nix is really struggling right now. And I could see the Chiefs holding Denver, under 20 points. And I just trust Patrick Mahomes, especially with Patrick Surtain out, to be able to get enough with him playing well this year. I think we're looking at probably a 24-16 type of game for Kansas City. I saw the spread at 4 this morning. The graphics got it at 3.5. It's going to be right in that range. I like Kansas City like in a teaser this week. Get it, like a 7-point teaser. Either they win relatively handily, they win by a field goal, or if Denver wins this one is really what I'm getting at. I think it's a tight win, a 21-20 type of deal where even if you tease this down 7 points, Kansas City maybe still is able to cover that for you because it's a close one. But I'm going to take the Chiefs and Mahomes to get it this week.
I'm with you. No Pat Surtain, no J.K. Dobbins. You're going to need a huge game from Nick Bonito, Zach Allen, the pass rush. I mean, they have to continue. The Jahdae Barron role has been interesting this year. They've kind of had him as a tight end eraser, and I'll be eager to see how that works against Travis Kelce. So that's that will be interesting to pay attention to. But this is, Broncos fans, you guys know that you've been dealing with this for years, that this is just such the door is just creaked open. And if that door is open at all, the Chiefs 99% of the time seemingly always just they just bust the door right open. This is a perfect chance for them to get back in the division. Perfect chance with multiple players out, including the reigning defensive player of the year. I'm going to go with Kansas City to win. I think it's going to be close, but this is such a Chiefs moment that they can take advantage of, and I think they will take advantage. 24-20 is what I'm going to go with.
We should be able to get to see Josh Simmons against Nick Bonito in this game, by the way. Really fun matchup.
Yes.
Excited to see who can win that one. I think that can be a big deal here. And huge thanks to Monty again this week for $20 super chat.
Oh, yeah.
MVP of the stream right there. Thank you, Monty. He says, penalties, mechanics, and execution have been issues in Denver. Special teams coordinator Darren Rizzi is enemy number one due to putrid special teams. If we lose on a blocked field goal again, he should watch out for his job, I would assume. If Kansas City can unsettle Bo Nix and draw penalties, this could be bad. I do think a blowout scenario is potentially there for Kansas City to win this one, like 31-17. I wouldn't be stunned.
I'm sticking 24-20, but Ravens Browns is up. And quickly before Marcus, I did have a super chat from Clemente. He asks, where do you think Kyler goes if gone after this year? That was a discussion we had earlier. I personally think Jets or Raiders. That's where I stand on that one.
Yeah, I like the Raiders fit. If one team I was thinking about is if my man Tyler Shuck like does plummet in the way that 90% of Twitter thinks, I kind of like that for New Orleans. Instead of drafting a quarterback this year, build up the team. I think Kyler's skill set is very similar to Jalen Hurts' skill set with Kellen Moore with what he did in Philly. They got a good old line. You got Chris Olave. I think that could be a really fun spot too if you're not heading into the next offseason thinking Tyler Shuck is going to be your starter and you don't want to draft a QB. I like that landing spot too.
All right. Ravens Browns is up. And with this game, I'm going to be honest. I'm surprised that it's a 4 o'clock game. I'll just start off by saying that. But I think this is going to be relatively close within the first half. And then I do expect the Ravens to pull away. The Ravens offense, they put up 27 last week, did not look particularly great within that game. I would argue at any point they had a couple, they took advantage of a couple of turnovers and you have to credit where it's due. I just don't think the offense looked great within that game. But with the Browns, this is going to very much be, can we keep up with a multiple-time league MVP winning quarterback? Can we keep up with a future Hall of Fame running back? And when these teams played earlier this year, it was the Ravens. They forced the Browns into a couple of mistakes. Joe Flacco was quarterback for the Browns at that point, and they had an interception return all the way to the 5-yard line. Within that game, I think Nate Wiggins picked that ball off. And that's pretty much what I expect in this game. I really expect the Ravens to take advantage of a young quarterback, take advantage of a third-round rookie quarterback with a receiving core that is, if we're being completely honest, not very good. And the Ravens secondary, by the way, I know the pass rush has been, the pass rush. It also doesn't help when Nnamdi Madubuike is done for the year. But the trade for Alohi Gilman was incredible. And the secondary right now with Gilman, Marlon Humphrey, and Kyle Hamilton, and Nate Wiggins, and Malachi Starks is even coming into his own in the past couple of weeks. This is a chance for a multi-interception game with Dylan Gabriel, and this also is a chance for the Shador crowd to get really loud, especially if Dylan Gabriel, multiple interceptions, they lose by double digits, which is very possible. The reality is the Ravens could have put up 20 points. The Browns could still lose by double digits. And whatever the over-under is, I think I would take the under in this game. But I like Ravens spread. I like the under, and I think it's going to be a lot of Big Ten football, and I'm going to go with Baltimore, something along the lines of 20-10, 23-13, somewhere in there, and I think the Ravens cover.
Yep, I'm with you. I had the same notes about Shador. Gabriel, just too many missed throws last week. He just looks kind of what you expected, like he is what he is type of deal. So this could be maybe a little Shador. I don't know if they'd put him in at halftime, boost the ratings, or build up hype for next week with him playing, or how they'd want to play that necessarily. But I do think we see Shador this year unless we see dramatic improvements, and I would be interested. It's more than just it's not just a Tim Tebow situation. Like I actually would be curious if he can play well enough. All that. It's probably a conversation for a different day, honestly. But I think the Browns at the line of scrimmage have a chance to make this game interesting. Just being the home team, I think you can run against Baltimore. I think obviously, the Browns D line can take over any game, but I think you got to go Ravens. I don't see them slipping up this week.
Right, and the Ravens are still in that path. That's still they can get to 6-5. They play Cleveland this week, Jets next week. 6-5 is right there. The Ravens, I don't see them. I don't. I mean, I'd be surprised, but I think they win. Are we Sunday night now? To keep chronological order, are we Sunday night?
Well, I think I messed up in my notes because we have the Titans-Texans game.
Oh, good call.
I had messed up in my notes forgetting that game existed. I had actually taken notes on Baltimore or Cleveland, but I can take this one off the rip. There's not a ton to say other than I freaking love the Texans on this line. 5.5 points against this offensive line. I hope Cam Ward figures it out at some point, but it's not going to be this week against a hungry Texans team after they pulled off the upset last week. Stroud's back, right? It was just a concussion. He should be.
No, Davis Mills.
It's Davis Mills again. Fine. I don't think it matters. I think this is all about the Texans defense that has just been annihilating teams. I don't think the Titans have the pass rush to make the Texans uncomfortable. And I think Davis Mills showed last week getting a little confidence in the second half that he can do enough to just get the ball in the hands of these playmakers. They're going to need these receivers to keep making some crazy catches, I think, because if you watch the second half of that game, it was like the receivers just basically stepped up, said, hold my beer, our season's not done yet. And Nico Collins, Jaden Higgins, Dalton Schultz just made crazy catches. So they might need a few of those if you're going to cover this spread. But I don't see Houston, who's putting up a little bit of a hoorah right now to get back into the mix in the AFC. I don't see this being the end of their story here. I think this is a slaughter in Nashville.
This is another put me. I mean, I said Chargers, Jags. I like the Chargers. This is another one where it's like 5.5. I'm sorry. I'm taking that against the Titans every time. I'm sorry. I hate to be so critical of the Titans all the time, but I mean, they're not a good team. But anyway, no. I agree with what you're saying. So we have this is a game I'm looking forward to. This is the 6 hour span of Seahawks, Rams, Lions, Eagles. I guess 7 hour from 4 to like 11:30. But this is my just Super Bowl here. This is what I'm looking forward to most. I started off one of the games I'm looking forward to most all year. That was the very first note that I put down. They've played each other once in the playoffs ever. You might remember this one, 1995 wild card round. The Eagles won 58-37. I was surprised when I found that one out. So definitely had to have been a scoregami. But the Lions offense had over 500 yards of offense last week. 7th time since 2022. No other team has more than 4 in that span. Dan Campbell called plays last week, though he said post-game that it was a combination of everybody and that, John Morton did a lot in the play calling last week, but Dan Campbell called plays. They put up 40 points. They put up 500 yards. Take that as you will. Jameson Williams, I put in the notes here, especially with Sam Laporta out. Get JMO the football. This is also a stat that I found out. Now, this dates back to 2022 when they were struggling initially. They finished the year 9-8. But when Jameson Williams has 7 targets, the Lions are 10-2 lifetime. They're 22-8 when he does not have at least 7 targets. So obviously that's a big discrepancy. Within that, the only losses were the very weird game against the Bucs last year where they couldn't get the ball in the end zone. There was like a weird clock management situation at the end of the first half. My point is that game was an anomaly. And then the game against the Chiefs this year. And this is going to be a very fun game. The Eagles' last win against Detroit the last win against Detroit in Philly was in 2013. It was the big snow game. I don't know if you remember. It was the game where Calvin Johnson caught a pass over the middle, got up, and the face was like his helmet was in snow. That was actually
is that LaShawn McCoy running for
yes,
all over the place? Yeah, that was such elite aesthetic.
That was also so we had a nor'easter that day, and I was in Baltimore for Vikings Ravens, the big 34-31 game that was 9-6 with 5 minutes left in the game where there was 50 points scored in the final 5 minutes. I was in Baltimore that day, and then the Lions Eagles was also happening at the same time. So that was the last time the Eagles beat the Lions in Philly.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That game was sorry to butt in here. That game was so iconic that I think Madden the next year, one of their big new features that was in the run of really bad Madden games. Their big new features was thicker snow, and they were showing like Eagles Lions like highlights for the next year's Madden. That was like such an iconic game.
It was an iconic Sunday. And I also definitely would have preferred the Eagles offense to look better off the bye. There's the AJ Brown drama. Not sure if you saw it this week, but there was like a clip of him saying, if you have me on your fantasy team, trade me. Or I think he referred to himself as third person. It was like, trade him if you have him on fantasy or something. Really, really weird situation.
Speaking of Madden too, wasn't he like streaming himself, like just feeding himself targets on Madden?
Yes. And Devontae Smith had 0 catches in the game. So AJ went for like 9 for 168 in this said Madden game. And then Smitty also had 0 catches. But anyway, look, this is going to be awesome. I'm kind of surprised. And this is, I mean, I like Sam Laporta. I don't think Sam Laporta has this much of an impact on the spread. Kind of surprised Philly's favored by this much. And I do have a super chat here from Blur Eats that he sent like 15 minutes ago. So I appreciate that. And he says, am I crazy for thinking the Lions roll Sunday night? A lot of smoke screens around the Eagles, and I trust Dan more than Sirianni. And then he has in parentheses, coming from a 100% biased Lions fan. I'm going to say, no, you're not. I'm taking the Lions 27-24. This game, like the Rams Seahawks game, absolute cinema. Cannot wait for it.
I think this game comes down to how healthy Lane Johnson's ankle is. That's my opinion. Because as someone that has had multiple ankle sprains playing basketball.
Oh, the classic like this, like the.
Yeah, I know exactly how that goes. You're able to play through it just fine. You can tough it out for like 2 to 3 hours, but you wake up the next morning and that thing is in hell. So I don't know if that's officially what it was. Do you have a comment on that?
No, I was just going to, you don't think they're going to soft bench Lane Johnson for an ankle sprain, do you?
Hashtag soft bench.
They might soft bench him.
Yeah, Fred Johnson did hold up triple teaming Micah Parsons. They did just fine. But no, in all seriousness, I think if Lane Johnson is healthy, I think the Eagles can have success against a man heavy, or at least a defense that likes to play some man. They'll mix it up a little bit, but I think Jalen Hurts, I like him better against man than his zone type of defense that Green Bay ran last week. Just because he can scramble and the reads are a little bit more simplified. It's a little bit more one-on-one, which is kind of how Jalen Hurts likes to play the QB position. But yeah, if it's Fred Johnson against Aiden Hutchinson, I lean more towards the Lions defense. So honestly, that's where I'm looking is he healthy? I think it's such a big deal. He's still one of the best players in football. When the Eagles have that healthy tackle duo, it's as big of a deal as you can think of. So there's that. And then the Eagles defense is tough as hell, man. Like, I don't know that they're going to give up these big Jahmyr Gibbs plays. They're going to make things hard. I think, keeping an eye on the interior of the offensive line against Jalen Carter and Moro Ojamo, maybe Brandon Graham out there rushing as a 3-tech. Like, that's how you get to Jared Goff. So I think there's a lot of matchups for Philly in this one. And Detroit's able to win, maybe with that Aiden Hutchinson matchup. So we'll see there. But I'm going to take the Eagles. I think getting to come back to Philly, I especially think they can make Jared Goff uncomfortable when push comes to shove. And I'm not going to bet this one. I think this is, as you described, it's a Super Bowl caliber matchup inside the NFC here. So it should be a ton of fun, but I'll lean Philly.
All right. Before we go to the Monday night game, I do have one super chat. Tyler says, this is a fun fact about this game. Detroit is the only team Philly faces this season that voted to keep the tush push. Every other opponent on their schedule wanted to ban it. So just appreciate the super chat and just wanted to note that as well.
Yeah. Well, let's see what happens when they revote.
It's
been a disaster this year.
It's going to be banned. Yeah. But
was another, like, not to be the annoying complaints about the game Packers fan, but in the first quarter of that game, the Eagles get away with a false start on the tush push, and then the Packers run a QB sneak and they call the false start on them. It's like, great. That's where we're at right now with this tush push thing.
My personal stance on that was that it was a good call. You got to call it. It was a good call. It was a good call on the Packers. It is what it is.
What about the one on the Eagles? Do we got to call that one, or we just let that slide?
The refs, they didn't see it. I have to agree with the refs in that situation.
Go put your Vikings jersey on, you jerk.
No, I'm not. Let's Cowboys Raiders.
You're like, don't tempt me with a good time. All right, Cowboys Raiders. I didn't think I was going to have much of an opinion on this until I saw the spread. I saw it at 3 points today. I'm like, what? I'm all Cowboys on this one, dude. The Raiders defense stinks. I'm not letting Bo Nix's one of the worst performances of his career last week fool me on that. I think Dak can get the ball out fast enough that Max Crosby, unless Dak's like out in this game coming off the bye week and I missed that, like that's not the case, right? Like that's the only thing that could explain the spread for me. But yeah, I mean, you've got these receivers going against this secondary. I think Dallas should be able to run the ball. Like they should have plenty of success offensively. And then the Raiders offense has been a mess. Geno got beat up last week. They lost Jackson Powers-Johnson. The Cowboys already have a decent pass. Like their pass rush's been all right this year. They add Quinnen Williams to take advantage of backup interior offensive linemen. Siobhan Revell and Demarion Overshown practice this week. I don't know if they'll be active or not. They also added Logan Wilson to the linebacker room. Explain the spread to me. I think Dallas gets some hope on the season with a blowout Monday Night Football win here against the Raiders. And maybe we even see Pete Carroll get let go after this one. I think it's been really bad.
I'm with you. And that's, so I did a video I released it yesterday. It's grading head coaches midway through their first season. Pete Carroll, I mean, pretty clear F. There's, I mean, what positive has came out of this year? It was that game last week against Denver was awful. The spread, I'm with you. Maybe trap game, maybe. I mean, Geno is
every game's a trap game if you're the Dallas Cowboys.
That's I mean, Geno has been horrendous this year, and I mean, there's a lot of takes that I'm wrong on, but one of the takes that I was right on was I like the trade for Seattle to trade Geno and get the value they could. But I never would have thought in a million years that Geno would look like this with the Raiders. But also within the Quinnen Williams part, I did want to point this out. Quinnen Williams had a bye week with the Cowboys last week and then a bye week the previous week with the Jets. So he's I mean, he could have planned the 10-day vacation mid-season and still.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I did want to point that fun fact out, but there's a lot of spreads I like this week. I don't understand some of them. Dallas, Houston, the Chargers are the big three. I'm with you. I think Dallas wins this one. They get back. And this is a perfect get right game for the Cowboys, especially off the bye.
All right. I don't know if we picked differently in any game this week.
No, no. Lions, Eagles.
That's right. Did you
take the Bears? Yeah, you took the
Bears. Yeah. Okay. We were different on a couple.
Thumbs down. I gave you the thumbs down.
All right. So. Well, I think next year we should like track our records on these. I think it'd be fun.
Yeah, definitely. But that will wrap up the Week 11 preview. If you are still watching, please like the stream. If you're watching, whether it's my stream, Marcus' stream, helps tremendously with the almighty YouTube algorithm. And until next time, as always, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.
I do have a quick plug. I'm going to be finalizing the production on the next Studs and Duds here as soon as we end the stream here. So you guys can hang around the homepage. You can probably see it in about 10 minutes or so for more TFG. But
I got a video tomorrow, 10 a.m. So 10 a.m. Eastern, be there. Be square.
We got just everything's rolling at you all the way into football on Sunday. So we got everything for you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Love you guys. Boom, baby.